Good morning, YouTube, and welcome back to another episode here at WILDMAN Lifts. I'm your host, WILDMAN. Now, on today's episode, yes, we're going to address the elephant in the room at the very end of this video. My arm is in a hard brace, but we'll get to that in a minute. For now, I've got my buddy Frank. Hello, Frank.
Hi.
Nice to have you here.
Nice to be
here.
here.
I don't think you've ever been in my backyard, like in the bullpen.
No.
This is what I call my gym.
This
is the bullpen.
And this is where you built yourself.
This is where I built myself.
Yeah.
Yes. And I have a bunch of bullheads around.
I love it.
Hence the name bullpen.
You know, I noticed those, but I didn't connect the dots.
Didn't connect the dots,
No.
yeah. And bullpen, obviously baseball. I love baseball. So bullpen, that's what they call the pitchers, like warm-up area. Like the pitchers that will pitch for only like one inning after the opening pitcher. They call that the bullpen. And then this is the bullpen with bulls, and bulls are strong. So it's kind of a triple whammy. I put a lot of thought into this.
There's a lot of thought into this. I like it.
So we are here today because you have completed 5x5. And you only did one cycle, correct?
Yeah, just one.
Okay. And the reason why we did one cycle was because we did Tough 6 originally, and we only did one cycle. And then we did 5x5 for just one cycle. But I had Frank doing giant set formats because I like to program at least 3 cycles per strength program. And the last cycle that I like to program, the third cycle of each of these programs, I like to throw in giant sets. That increases the athlete's athletic capacity and work capacity. And if they're able to do that and continue to progress in strength, then that means that I'm doing my job and the program is working. And so since you passed Tough 6 with giant set format for one cycle, you automatically graduated to 5x5. And then you did 5x5 giant sets with no problem. And how'd you feel at the very end of 5x5?
I enjoyed 5x5. I find that, you know, the last week, maybe 2 weeks, kind of depends on the cycle. This time we only did one cycle, but it's like the last week, it begins to take a toll, right? You know, it's like, okay, I'm looking forward to going for my 1 rep max and having a deload week. But overall, because I'm not going to failure every single day, it's like every day I'm kind of hitting it fresh, hitting it charged up, ready to go, and just, like you said, working on the full capacity, the full workload. That's what we're really trying to improve.
It's true. And typically, you know, when you're a beginner, diet is not that important. Of course, it's always important because, you know, you want a lifetime physical fitness. You always want to be ready to fight. You always want to be ready to react in an athletic way and be super strong when you need to do the task. But at the same time, when you're a beginner, you can kind of get away with a poor diet. Doritos on the couch all day.
Yeah.
You know, like people could still get away as a beginner and still progress in strength, essentially. So your diet so far, which has mainly been consuming a lot more meat products, right? Because you were trying to do this challenge more on a more stricter carnivore diet.
Yeah.
And you were still progressing and kind of feeling the same way any beginner would be at the very tail end of the cycle, which is what you were saying was the hardest part.
Yeah. It's just, my energy was perfectly fine. It's just like I could feel it taking a toll on the body, and it really makes a big difference for me that deload weeks. My deload weeks are very active. I still do light work, light exercise. I get to go for the pump, and I stretch every single day for between 20 to 45 minutes. It's usually closer to 45 minutes. But energy-wise, phenomenal, and I'm pretty sure, for the last month or so, maybe more than that now, I've been exercising fasted every day, which I've been really enjoying, because I find that my body, I never know if eating in the morning is going to help me, right? I might eat and then feel lethargic afterwards, or I might eat and feel fine. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to take out eating altogether and just eat more later in the afternoon. And that's been working great for me.
Cool. So on this particular day, we were testing your 1 rep max. So we did the back squat first. So we're going to watch this live, right? Like, not live. I mean, obviously you've already done it. You can't do 2 things at once. But we're going to watch it for what you did. And the viewers are going to be able to see the little box in the bottom as we're watching it. So you ready for this?
Yeah.
Now this weight was what? 325. Okay, that was just a 5-pound PR?
5 pounds. Yeah.
Okay, so nice lift off. It's always scary walking back, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Every time.
Nice descent. I'm in the way there because I didn't want you crushing yourself. A little sticky into the middle there, right?
Yeah.
So I would say that probably is a true 1 rep max. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. I remember when I was underneath the weight thinking it's moving at a good speed, but I really didn't want to put any more on this. Right?
Yeah.
It was maximum, even though I didn't feel like it. It wasn't like some of my bench press PRs where they kind of stop and we all wonder. I even wondered, is this going to keep going?
Yeah.
It wasn't like that. I truly believed I was going to hit it, but I really thought I shouldn't put even 5 more pounds on the bar.
Right. So then the next one that you did was the bench press, and I'm counting here. So it's 265.
Yes.
Okay, which is how big of a PR is that?
I believe that was 10 pounds because I think the one before that was 255.
Oh, sweet. So this is a 10-pound PR.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. If I recall correctly, which we'll see, you'll see Frank's legs here in a minute. I think you timed that leg drive perfectly. And I think before this, I'm starting to get my memory back here. I think before this lift, the whole gym stopped, right? Like everybody was like watching in anticipation.
They were.
Yeah.
They absolutely were.
Because you did 245 before that, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't go well. You pushed it up, but it was like super messy, slow. Leg drive wasn't timed, right?
Right.
And so we were like, shoot, like 255 is probably where you need to be, or 260 at the most. But we did 265 instead because I think the gym people were trying to talk you into it. Right?
That's what it was. Is bench is the most difficult lift for me. I have a really hard time stabilizing the bar. I have a really hard time with my leg drive timing, and what'd you say, 245? That was a struggle.
Yeah.
But I still wanted to hit a PR, right? I wanted to go up at least 5 pounds, and I turned around and I asked our friend that was in the gym, and I said, "What do you think? Do you think I should go for a 5 pound or a 10 pound?" And he said, "Go big or go home." And I thought, forget it. Let's see what happens, because I didn't, I decided to just not think. I decided to just simply lift. So we threw on the extra 5 pounds from what we had originally planned. Everybody was hyping me up. Everybody stopped to look, and I don't know what I did right. It must have been the leg drive timing, and it just flew up. It felt way more controlled.
Yeah, let's see how that looks.
245.
So good up there. I'm ready to catch it. Look at that leg drive. Pop. And it just smoothly goes up. And I love the camaraderie around all this. Everybody was giving you high fives and telling you how great you were. And I'm yelling at you. I'm yelling at you because that was easier than 245. And so I thought I was going to have to pick it off your chest.
Yeah.
And instead, it flew up better than 245.
It is insane. I mean, the amount of... So two things that occurred to me here. One is I think I landed that with a lot of luck, because obviously I'm still struggling with bench presses, even on the day-to-day, right? I'm still struggling with my forward stability. But the second point, and more importantly than that, is that showed me I have the muscle mass. I've built up the strength, the tendons, the whatever, all the parts are quite capable of lifting more than what I had originally anticipated. So now that I know all it is the form. I know that I have the strength to work with the weight that I have on the bar. Just need to dial that in.
Yeah. That was really impressive. And that's like a feat of strength, right? Because there's a lot of people in the gym that can't lift 265. I'm telling you right now, everybody's like average gym goer. If they're just having a normal diet, they go to the gym, they do the bro gym science where they're just benching three sets of 10, and they're doing the weight machines and hitting their chest and the flies and all that when they're done. For some reason, 255 is like their stopping point, meaning they can't hit 255. So 265, especially on a pressing movement, every 2.5 pounds on a pressing movement is bigger than it is on a back squat or a deadlift. So the fact that you're able to make it fly faster than 245, yeah, and it's kind of a testament to the training you've done. I like to really slow it down and isolate athletic movements, timing, leg drive, and making sure the tendons are ready so they don't snap.
Yeah.
And usually it rolls around in your hand.
Yeah.
That's what happened, I think, with 245, which is typical when it gets heavy for you.
Yeah.
And 265, not one roll.
Yeah, and I have no idea. I have no idea what I did differently. I gripped it differently, and a large part of it, I'm sure, came from the mentality. For some reason, when I said, "Hey, you pick the weight," he picked the weight, and I thought, "Forget it. I'm just going to lift it," and I just lifted it. And I just need now, but I can't do that every single time. I can't totally zone out and get into that weird meditative state where I just pick it up every single time. I need to dial it in, figure out how to hold the bar, and I'm getting closer. I know I'm getting closer to that, especially since that showed me I have a lot more strength than I thought.
Another thing too is, you got into it like an animal mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about this before. That's why I think with the back squat, you probably have 335 in you, but that was the first lift. You're nervous, blah, 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 blah. And when it's wobbling around when you get it off the bar, typically means you're not in the right mindset, right? You're not in that pissed off mindset. That was pissed off mindset. The 265 was.
Yeah.
It was just, I'm going to lift this even if I die, right? That's the way we think, right?
Yeah.
And if your muscle mechanics and your muscle memory remembers how to use proper technique while you're in that fight or flight mode, that's what makes things go up faster, which is what happened with the deadlift here. Because the deadlift, you were kind of struggling until you got mad.
Yeah.
And this is where you got mad, which is, what is this?
I think we went back to 355.
315, 335, 355.
355.
Which I think was your all-time PR ever before we trained, right? No.
Yeah.
As we were training, before you got off training, 355 is what you hit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd hit 355 before. I missed it on the last PR because I overdid the back squat.
That was it, yeah.
Yeah.
So this time around, we were trying, I think you were 10 under your all-time PR, and I think this is your all-time PR trying to tie it.
Yeah.
And look at that. What a different mindset. Boom. So how'd that one feel?
It felt amazing. I
think
that.
Before that one, you were kind of in that little, like, oh, try to use technique, try to remember technique.
Yeah, that's all it was. Like,
and then this one,
you were trying to coach me on technique, and I do remember. I remember that conversation, not specifically what was said, but I remember the conversation, the theme, which was you were saying, you know, shins this far away, do this, brace at the top, and I was trying to follow all your instructions, and you kept saying, you know, appropriately, so you're missing the mark, you're missing the mark, you're missing the mark, and I said, screw it, just let me lift it.
Yeah.
And I lifted it, and I felt good.
And then magically, all my cues just fell into play.
And they just fell into play.
Yeah.
That's it. It's
Ridiculous.
like, you know what? I can't think. You know, just lift.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really good. So then the next phase will be, I think with deadlift, you're switching over to straps now.
I'm switching to
because
straps.
of my mishap. Probably the safest thing.
Yes, and I'm also a little bit. I'll admit that I'm a little bit OCD in the sense that every time I lifted with the mixed grip, I kept noticing different levels of tension on the upper back, and I thought I would really like, even if it sets me back a cycle on a reference to PRs, I would really like to balance out all the muscles.
Yeah. Because there is a muscular imbalance when you do mixed grip. You'll even see sometimes when I'm doing my farmer walks, because I've been doing mixed grip this year, you'll see that my neck is slightly askew from the rest of my body when I'm lifting perpendicular, and that's because of the mixed grip. It just sets your muscles off motion. So I'm actually, when I get better, I'll be going back to straps as well, and I don't think I'm ever going to go back to mixed grip ever again. I think that is a dynasty that's over for me. Yep. So the next one is the push press.
Yes.
And again, I think the one before this is 175. So 175-pound push press. And I believe before this, your technique was terrible. Again.
Yeah, it threw you
seems to be your thing.
I have a really good relationship with having bad technique. It's very reliable.
And then when it comes like getting angry and just doing your big lift, then everything just falls into place.
Yeah.
Because we'll see here. Look how well this moves. So elbows super far down, which we'll work on that in the future. Get stuck, but because of that mindset that you had, it just went up. And you were so nonchalant about it when you were done, which is kind of what I see with people that lift their 1 rep maxes, is they get into this like killer mode, that after they do something, they're kind of like,
yeah, I'm done.
I'm done. Yeah.
And it felt that way too.
Yeah, so that was good. 175 push press. I think 185 is your max on the seated press. But again, the seated press, you are in a seated position. You can use the bench as like a wall.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I was to push you, like with just my body weight, or if I put myself up against this post and then pushed you, I would get a lot more force from my back against the post versus me standing freely. So this is a very different movement, because you can use your legs to basically jump and catch it in the air if you get good at it. But at the same time, once it's in the air, it's going to wobble around a lot, and you have to use your whole body to keep it in the air, right?
And that's what I was messing up. That's what I messed up on the set before that one. I had thrown it up, and I think when I pushed it up, it was fine. When I was bringing it back down, it came a little too far away from my body. And so that's what I'm still trying to get, lined up, keep it really close, moving my head, timing all the movements together. And remember, we actually thought about going up. I thought about trying 180 or 185 after this. And my wife had said, just before I left the house, she said something to the effect of, and she never really says this kind of stuff, she said something to the effect of, hey, remember, if something feels off, just, take what you got type of thing, right? So I walked back up to the bar, I grabbed it, I rolled my shoulders back, and I felt a super small pinch in the back of my shoulder, and I thought, I'll take the sign for what it is, and I just let go, and I thought 175 is a good place to leave it.
Yeah, especially because it's such a foreign movement, right?
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Yeah.
Being able to, just brace myself, balance the bar, keep it in line.
That's why I think for 5-3-1 we changed that up. Well, we did it for 5x5 just to get you used to the movement.
Yeah.
But 5-3-1 we're going to stick with push press, right? Do you prefer that or seated press?
I like them both for different reasons. I like that this one is another movement where I can practice stabilizing the bar because, again, my weakest lift is bench press, and probably just an ego thing. I care about the bench press way more than overhead press. I do care about my shoulders, but I do care about the bench press more than overhead press. And I feel like this helps me more because I have to practice really stabilizing my whole body, flexing my core a different way, controlling the bar. I don't know why, but for some reason I'm connecting with this lift I'm connecting those two lifts a little bit better than when I was sitting down doing the overhead press.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, totally. Well, I think you PR'd on everything, right? Mm-hmm. Push press, I mean, you never really tested your max on push press, so that's an automatic win.
Yeah, we just found that one.
That's a 175-pound PR. Congratulations.
It was phenomenal.
Deadlift, you tied your all-time best, which is awesome. Yeah. And you had a 10-pound PR and a 5-pound PR on your back squat and your bench press. So, so far, so good. And how's the meat diet working out? You feel like it's carrying over and helping your lifts at all?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So now, congratulations. Frank's moving into intermediate 1, which you've done before. Yeah. We did one cycle, I think, of 5-3-1 before Frank decided he wanted to go train and focus more on jiu-jitsu and train for tournaments. And so he decided to go do that because it is more taxing to try to train in jiu-jitsu like competitively and trying to maintain a high level of strength, which you need a lot more recovery time. But we're now moving into the phase where we're really going to test the carnivore diet because after we're done with 5-3-1, conjugate, the way that I like the style, conjugate training typically involves a lot more carbs and a lot more greens and a lot more meat and a lot more fat, like any fat that you can get a hold of, because your body's just going to be screaming for it because it's such hard work. It's hard on your central nervous system. And the only way that you're going to be able to get through it is if you are properly fueled and you're feeding the muscles that you're breaking down every single day. And Frank believes that the carnivore diet will be able to sustain himself through that rigorous training. And so we're going to find out. But the first thing we have to do is do 5-3-1, because 5-3-1 tests your 1 rep max, or at least closer to your 1 rep max. Like we're testing within 3 weeks, 95% of your 1 rep max, right? And then we're doing 1 rep max. So it's a lot more frequency of testing, right? So this is getting him used to testing, is when we go to conjugate. Conjugate's a lot of testing. So you excited for that?
I am excited for that, and I'm appreciating the 5-3-1. It's helping me kind of dial in areas of weakness. So 5-3-1 is going to get me set up to, I'm hoping, be on autopilot for conjugate, since it's going to require a lot more energy.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming by and having this discussion. Frank's going to go lift now. We're going to film more content. Before we take off, I did get an injury, and I know I said I'd tell you at the very end of this video what happened to why I'm wearing a sling. I basically got a bicep injury from doing strongman movements, and I'm going to do a whole entire series about that in the future called The Road to Recovery, which I'm going to be walking you through what happened with my injury and what was the steps after that. So in case anybody comes across the same injury I have, then you're going to be able to kind of get an idea of what to expect and have different options of how you want to handle it. Really appreciate everybody coming by, and we'll see you next time.